Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Here. What about anybody's probably from like
It's mine.
Okay.
The black one is mine.
Nope, that guy is probably.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ramsey, New Jersey, all the way up Route 17 north to Don Bosco Prep and Greenwich Stadium for a top 5 matchup between two powerhouse programs here in the Garden State. It's number 5 St. Augustine. It will be just over 2.5 hours drive north this Saturday morning. And then number 2 in New Jersey, the Don Bosco Prep Ironman. It's all streaming live right here on YouTube on SSP Video Highlights. joined by Anthony Bertolo, operating the camera and producing this morning's game. My name is Ryan Holtzclaw. Big thank you for tuning in wherever you may be, as we have a likely non-public quarterfinal or semifinal primer on our hands here in Ramsey this morning into the early afternoon. We're just about to get going here. Augustine Stadium, John Bosco in all black, the white helmets. As for St. Augustine, the white jerseys, blue shorts, and blue helmets, and we're underway. Scott Thompson, another face-off win. He's been brilliant this season, a 4-year varsity career. Bosco with the center of the first offensive possession. He will begin with it. Up. Kevin from the near half. Substituting in Texas Ellsworth. Nice ball moving with Cialetti from the far half. Gets his left hand swing shot, says high, and over the crossbar. Together here near half. Two phenomenal teams here competing this morning. St. Augustine Prep, the number 5 team in New Jersey, 13-2 this season. As the Bosco, number 2 in the state, a 12-4 record. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2. 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 Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2. Testing 1 2, test 1 2. Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Now. Yeah, James.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I believe we're live. One sec, let me get a confirmation. Test 1 2, test 1 2. Test 1 2, test 1 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you. Good morning. Finally, a little bit of technical difficulties getting our audio up and running here from Grand Hotel Stadium in Ramsey, New Jersey, Don Bosco Prep High School. I welcome you here up Route 17 North. We got a top 5 matchup on our hands between two of the best teams in the state. St. Augustine Prep, number 5 in New Jersey, out of Richland, New Jersey, South Jersey. They made just over a 2.5-hour drive north here to Ramsey to take on Don Bosco Prep, number 2 in the Garden State, a record of 12-4. As for St. Augustine, a record of 13-2. As we've got a goal, number 23 in white, that's Ryan Woodzak. It's his second here of the late morning. And that gives St. Augustine a 2-1 lead here with 4:26 left in quarter number 1. It's going to give, as I mentioned there, the Hermits of St. Augustine a 2-1 lead. A little bit of technical difficulties, as I mentioned, getting up and running here with our audio, but we should be good to go. We won't touch any of the mixer settings, and I think we're all set. Just to give you a bit of a recap here, as I mentioned, Ryan Woodzak, number 23 in white, junior captain, committed to Penn State, just netted his second goal here of the late morning. That's 2 back-to-back goals there for the Hermits. As for Bosco, it was John Dever, the junior, getting the goal scoring started here this morning. It was his 25th goal of 2025. He's scored in all but one game this season. Has had a very, very impressive junior season. That is the 5'10" captain, John Dever, committed to Yale. A couple nice saves as well from both of our goalies. I tallied 2 from O'Hara as I was trying to get our mixer settings going. Give that 3 there for the Siena senior commit. I should say senior Siena commit. As for in the cage for St. Augustine, it is the Elizabethtown commit, Ben Zaitz, the senior number 19 in white. As it's Bosco in the black jerseys, black shorts, white helmets. St. Augustine, blue helmets, blue shorts, and the white uniforms. As Brady Scaletti brings to the top of the restraining box as Bosco makes some changes offensively. My name, Ryan Holzbus, joined by our cameraman and producer, Anthony Bertolo. We appreciate you joining us on what's become a beautiful Saturday morning. It was a little bit rainy as we got going. We actually were delayed 30 minutes due to a lightning strike called about 20-30 minutes ahead of our scheduled start at 11. A few technical difficulties getting our audio up and running. I think we're in the clear as we're under 3 minutes to play here in quarter number 1. Again, St. Augustine a 2-1 lead as that was Scaletti trying to get to Cage. He was running out of an angle, put the stick back in his left hand to try to increase that angle. It was Zaitz getting a piece of it, and the Hermits across midfield. As we get a stoppage. It's going to be a timeout from the St. Augustine sideline. It is their first here of half number 1. Opportunity to introduce our officials as well. It's Dave Field, the head referee, joined by Michael Zeldman and John Medic. Usually go down there, talk with the officials, and then I end up waiting until the fourth quarter to introduce them. We'll get it done and over with right there. We'll introduce our two teams. Let's start with St. Augustine. Mentioned that the Richland program, 13-2 on the season, led by head coach J.C. Valori, 21st season with the program. They are undefeated in state here in 2025. Their only 2 losses coming against Pennsylvania opponents Westtown and Episcopal. Back in mid-April, it was a 7-6 loss at Westtown, and then just about 2 weeks ago, an early May loss at Episcopal, and really their worst performance of the season. It was a 16-5 loss on the road in Pennsylvania. A few Pennsylvania teams on the schedule for St. Augustine, the 2022 non-public A champ. A 16-2 season. They defeated Del Barton 6-5 in that 2022 non-public A championship. And just some other history there on the Hermits. 2010 and 2011 non-public A runner-ups. And last season in 2024, it was a 12-1 loss at Seton Hall Prep in the non-public A quarterfinal for a team this season that's scoring over 9.5 goals per game, allowing just 5. We're expecting evenly matched, obviously great defense mixed with some fantastic offensive personnel on both sides. We'll be getting through it as we get into this morning and into the early afternoon. Already mentioned Ryan Woodzak for the Hermits, already mentioned Scaletti for Bosco. Handful of other names joining those two on each side of the ball. As for Bosco, 12-4 this season. Also have not lost in state, as there was a look inside that was 42 in white. Call it Evan Acevedo, the sophomore on the cut there. Couldn't come up with it. However, St. Augustine able to control. It'll be Woodzak, the junior captain, again heading to Penn State in 2 years. He'll be back at St. Augustine next spring. He'll dodge down the right alley, a slow dodge as the Hermits work the ball around to the far high corner. And a knocked down pass. Chervin, 33 in black, got a stick on it. St. Augustine able to control. Behind for Thurber, 15 in white, sophomore. 20 goals and 21 assists here coming into the morning. He's forced out wide of the far numbers as St. Augustine will spin it around here to the near sideline. Reed Weissar, the senior, heading to Ursinus next spring, or more so here in the fall to play next spring. trying to muscle his way forward is Acevedo, more so not working forward, but east-west. A whistle. It's going to be a loose ball push. Or excuse me, it was with possession. A flag came in. It's over there on the 40-yard line on the number. So it will be a man-up coming here as we are under a minute, 51.1 seconds left to play here in quarter number 1. St. Augustine will trigger it in from the high near corner along the 30-yard line of the football field at the numbers. Bosco, though, 4 losses, all out of state, coming against New York opponents Chaminade and St. Anthony's, both nationally ranked. Haverford up in Pennsylvania, or I should say over in Pennsylvania, early in April. And then a loss in mid-April right here at Granatell to Fairfield Prep, one of the top teams in Connecticut. Skip pass across. Finds stick of Ryan Diamond to the junior. Here's Woodzak, teed one up from about 15 yards away. A great save by O'Hara. Tally the 4th for the senior as Bosco plays it across midfield into the stick of John Dever, 9 in black. Has the goal this as we get into the afternoon. Just going to go with the afternoon. Here's Scaletti. Inside 10 seconds. Jump shot with his right hand, and he beats Zeitz. The 6'3 senior captain Scaletti, his 49th goal here in 2025. Knots our score up at 2 with 6 seconds left to play. And back to the face-off stripe. Scott Conti has dominated all season. He's dominated much of his 4-year varsity career there at the face-off. Dot wins another one, matched up with number 5 in white. That's the junior Chris Marino. And that'll get us to the end of our first quarter. As we'll look ahead to quarter number 2, all knotted up at 2. A quick break. I'll be back on the other side as, missed the first 6 minutes of getting our action started. We'll try to recap a little bit and get you all teed up for what is a action-packed Saturday here in New Jersey, with lacrosse action happening across the state. NCAA quarterfinals today and tomorrow, so a lot going on. Obviously, this is must-see lacrosse right here, though. 2-2 tie between 2 top 5 teams in New Jersey. Don't go anywhere.
Mission, timeout, no, that's it. We're going to ruin everybody's live stream. We are running commentary in here.
And as I mentioned, we'll welcome you back as our 2 teams still in their respective huddles. Live here from Granatell Stadium in Ramsey, New Jersey, Don Bosco Prep High School. You're watching live on SSP Video Highlights. Be sure to tune in or check out the channel at SSP Video for your highlight needs. We produce some games like this, either just video or video and audio, whatever your heart desires. We can do our best to make it happen for you. And live right here on YouTube. Easy to find, easy to access for all your family, friends, and other fans watching and listening from home. A 2-2 score as we're a few moments away from getting quarter number 2 started. We'll introduce our 2 head coaches. I mentioned their names there in our first quarter. For St. Augustine Prep, it is J.C. Valor. His 21st season leading the Hermits, and arguably one of their best seasons to date. They did go 16-2 in that 2022 championship season. Currently 13-2, and 2 juggernauts, or really I should say 3 juggernauts at the end of their schedule. Just on Tuesday, they knocked off Westfield at Westfield. They are a number 7 team in the current top 20 in New Jersey per NJ.com. Now, Bosco here this morning into afternoon, number 2 in the state. Doesn't get any easier. Next Friday, they'll travel to Del Barton to take on the Green Wave, the current number 1 team in New Jersey. As for Don Bosco Prep, led by head coach Matt Lane. I mentioned both teams undefeated in state this season. Matt Lane hasn't lost to a New Jersey opponent yet in 2 years, as Scott Conti, another face-off win. I want to say give him about 4 or 5. He's been dominant there from the stripe. as we get the day started here. This beautiful Saturday, May 17. This game wasn't supposed to be scheduled, but Bosco had a blank Saturday in their schedule. As for St. Augustine, they had games canceled due to, I want to say it was the Somerset County final that's taking place. Gill St. Bernard's and Pingree, 11-6 in New Jersey. For Don Bosco, Gill St. Bernard's will be traveling here to Ramsey next Friday night. We're hoping to have that game live right here on SSP video. But some shuffling in the schedule gives us a top 5 matchup between St. Augustine and Don Bosco. Head coach Matt Lane, as I mentioned, hasn't lost to a New Jersey opponent in his 2-year head coaching career here with Bosco. The 2024 NJSIAA non-public A state champs. It was a 17-3 season. All 3 losses coming out of state. As that shot inside saved by Zeitz, the senior. Push from behind and another flag to come in here against the Ironmen. As we're just over a minute through quarter number 2. In our near corner, looks like it will be Heston Halesworth, the sophomore, who will slowly jog off the field. As the flag, the penalty does come in the Bosco offensive end, so the ball will advance to midfield. And a 6-on-5 to come here for the St. Augustine Prep Hermits. And a chance to try to take a 3-2 lead. Again, all knotted up at 2. Head coach Matt Lane joined by assistants Brian Cavanaugh, heading to defense, Anthony Falco. Frank Lugo works heavily with Scott Conti at the face-off X and along those face-off wings. And then Rich Robinson, part of the strength and conditioning program at Don Bosco. As the Hermits work it around, skip pass across, and a quick shot. That was Brayson Thurber, talented sophomore. His shot just wide left of the near pipe. Back up by the Hermits. We'll keep possession right here. As it's Ryan Diamond along our near wing along the numbers. Penalty released. We're back to all even, 6-on-6 across. As we're 2 minutes through quarter number 2. Here's Diamond, the junior. Matched up with number 28 in black. That's Tim Norum, the senior. The point for Woodzak. A few injuries on the Don Bosco prep side. Hudson Villaruel's been out for a few weeks now. He's missed his last 5 games. This will be the 6th. I was talking to him down on the sideline before we got going here on this Saturday. Hoping that he'll be able to return for the state games, as it's the quarterfinal June 3rd, semifinal Friday, June 6th. Ball knocked out of the stick of Mason Rauchi, the junior, and Bosco the other way quickly. Believe that's Jack Murphy, 26 in black. It is. He'll get a touch in the restraining box and find Johnny Dever, who will slow things down, find Jason Koo in the middle of the field, the typical initiator for the Ironman offense. And back to Dever, the other player that's leaned on heavily to get things started in terms of the dodging aspect offensively for the Ironman, as he works to his right, east-west, and will find Scaletti, 15 in black. 49 goals, including the tally here this afternoon. 15 assists, good for 64 points. Entering the beautiful Saturday, that one's saved there by Zeitz. St. Augustine across midfield quickly. It's Jack Gunaris, the senior. And a chance on Cage, saved by O'Hara. However, the ball is loose behind the goal. O'Hara able to pounce on top of it. Quick outlet pass to midfield. Finds Rocco Scalia, 3 in black. Odd man rush. Scaletti finds the ball in his stick. And at the top of the restraining box, he'll slow things down. Allow Bosco to make some changes, some defensive personnel to midfield into the substitution box, and those offensive midfielders back on the field. However, there was a shot there by the Ironman, sailed wide. The dash lane to trigger it in from the far corner. Now for Koo and to Halesworth along our near hash at midfield. 4 minutes through quarter number 2. We're all tied up at 2 between 2 top 5 teams here in the Garden State. Don Bosco Prep number 2, St. Augustine Prep number 5 in New Jersey. Shot from the outside. It was John Dever. Right hand free from about 12, 13 yards away. Dever, the Yale commit, nets his second goal of the afternoon. 26th overall here in 2025. Gives Don Bosco Prep a 3-2 lead. That was a hammer shot there from the Yale commit, 2024 first team All-County, All-Gibbs, a 2024 second team All-Non-Public, I want to say All-Non-Public A. It might be All-Non-Public State in general, comprising of the two. Entering this season, 2025, there will be just one non-public bracket as Scott Conti wins another face-off. I have it tallied as his 5th. A flag comes in at midfield, and it will be a delayed penalty here for the Ironmen. As again, slowing things down, getting some personnel subbed off, subbed on, and they'll play out the delayed penalty here. And then we'll see what happens in terms of possible power play here for the Ironmen, as it's Scaletti from the high near corner. He'll work to his left, east-west. Hands free. He'll pass it off for Dever as Conti checks off. Checking in number 1 in black, Heston Hellsworth. Dever will take a pick out along that far sideline in between the hash marks and the numbers. Skip pass for Hellsworth to his right. Play it behind for Lane. Skip pass in front. Kushner was wide open there on the crease. 2-3 yards in front of the cage. It was a nice look. And Scaletti bounce to his left and then a bounce to his right. Gets his right hand free. And you got a slide there to the senior. Can't make it that easy for him as he nets his second of the now afternoon. A 4-2 lead for Bosco. And the penalty will be wiped off with the goal. And we'll stay all even. So it was Bosco to get our goal scoring started. St. Augustine answered with 2, and Bosco Scaletti a second goal to send our quarter break at 2-2. It's now been Dever, Scaletti to give Bosco a 2-goal lead. Conti won the initial clamp, played it forward. Ball still on the ground and recovered by the Hermits with a whistle to follow the loose ball. It'll be a timeout from the St. Augustine Prep sideline. That's their second and final timeout here in half number 1. We'll step aside and take a timeout with them. 6:31 left to play in our first half. Don Bosco Prep a 4-2 lead over St. Augustine Prep. Don't go anywhere. We're live right here on SSP Video Highlights live on YouTube.
Here we go. When we come back, just look the right arrow.
Back here at Granitel Stadium, Ramsey, New Jersey, Don Bosco Prep High School. Ryan Holzbus alongside Anthony Bertolo, operating the camera, producing this afternoon's game for you all watching and listening at home live right here on SSP Video Highlights. Bosco's got a 4-2 lead, 6:31 left to play in half number 1. As the Hermits of St. Augustine Prep head coach J.C. Valori just burned his second and final timeout of half number 2. As his team still does need to clear it. They'll start with it from within their own restraining box with goalie Ben Zeitz. And a clear across midfield. A pause for a moment. Wanted to make sure St. Augustine Prep did. Want to make sure they had the correct personnel on the defensive half of midfield. Ball is loose. Nice check down there by Bosco. I didn't pick out the black jersey. And here's a big ground ball. That's 43 in black. Mikey Marino, the junior, as he'll play it forward for Jack Murphy. For Scaletti, a touch in the restraining box, and a timeout from head coach Matt Lane in the Don Bosco Prep sideline. They're first here in half number 2. As we're just under the midway point in our, half number 1, excuse me, just under the midway point here in quarter number 2. We'll stay right here, back-to-back timeouts. We won't go anywhere. As for St. Augustine Prep, they are without Sebastian Varallo. Number 25 in white attackman, just a junior. 24 goals, 18 assists, a St. John's commit. Without him here on this Saturday. And as I mentioned, for Don Bosco, without Hudson Villarreal, James Greenhut was a question mark coming into the afternoon. He got banged up against Bergen Catholic on Monday night in the Bergen County Tournament Final. We were there on Monday night at Mawa High School for that Bergen County Tournament Final. Bosco winning their 5th straight, 7th overall county title. But it was Greenhut, the senior captain, Iona commit, went down. I believe it was the third quarter, like early beginning of the third quarter. Pretty pivotal time, too. Bergen, it was either tied or Bosco had a 1-goal lead. Bergen, really, the momentum of the game was swinging their way, and then called about a 5-minute stoppage for the injury. Greenhut makes his way off the field with trainers, and then Bosco went on to win 9-6. Greenhut was down on the field warming up, trying to see if I can pick him out down there on the sideline. I haven't seen him on the field just yet. We have seen number 3, Rocco Scalia, seemingly his replacement there on Thursday night in the win over Chatham. Nice look inside. That was a pass from Kushner inside for Dash Lane. 2 in black, the sophomore. A nice save by Zeitz. As we'll delve into that maybe at halftime. The games from earlier in the week. Del Barton, a Morris County final win over Chatham, 13-12. And then Bosco on Thursday, an 11-5 win over Chatham. How do you rank them? Del Barton, obviously the one team in New Jersey right now, PrenJ.com. Don Bosco Prep number 2. Maybe we'll delve into that at halftime, though. As it's Ryan Diamond from midfield, he'll play it over to Jack Hendricks, the sophomore attackman, as he works it down the far wing. He'll play it off for Brayson Thurber, the sophomore, who will initiate from the far corner. Gets his left hand free after initially dodging to his right. A hard cut. Got his left hand loose and saved by O'Hara. The senior has been a brick wall after letting up those 2 goals in quarter number 1. Long outlet pass finds its target. It was John Dever down around the 20-yard line on Bosco's offensive half of midfield. As Kushner checks in along with 27 in black, Jason Koo, 1 in black, Heston Halesworth, the sophomore. Bosco will look to continue extending their lead. Currently a 2-goal advantage with 4:20 left to play in our first half. But this season, rather than 2 non-public A brackets, rather than 2 non-public brackets, in the past it's been non-public A, non-public B, 1 bracket of 24 this season for the non-public group state title game. So rather than 6 champions this season, there will be 5. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, and Group 4 for the public schools, and then the non-public champ. Shot from the far hash, about 13 yards from the cage. That was Dash Lane, the sophomore number 2, saved by Zeitz, the Elizabethtown commit, with what I believe was his 3rd or 4th save here in the first half. So we're now inside 3.5 minutes. The Hermits trying to cut this 2-goal lead in half. Be Ryan Diamond from the almost near midfield. Near numbers. A bounce pass into the middle of the field. He was trying to find the sophomore Jack Hendricks, and the ball bounced in front of Hendricks and skipped out of play along the St. Augustine sideline. So an unforced turnover for the Hermits. And Bosco will clear it from the back. As O'Hara will find a teammate in the middle of the field. It's 24 in black, Declan McInerney, the junior. Will find help, Jack Murphy, touching the restraining box. And Bosco will look to get to work here inside 3 minutes in half number 1. As for Don Bosco, we mentioned St. Augustine, a bit of a difficult stretch here to end their season. Westfield at Westfield, at Don Bosco, at Del Barton. A similarly, wouldn't call it difficult, but a strong schedule to close out the season. This past Thursday, a win over Chatham for the Ironmen. A scheduled game that just popped up this week here against St. Augustine. On Monday, Bosco will head to Westfield, the current number 7 team in New Jersey. Next Wednesday, a trip out to New Canaan, Connecticut to take on one of the top teams in the state of Connecticut. That's on Wednesday the 21st. New Canaan, for all our Bosco supporters, will have a stream, so make sure to head on over to YouTube, search New Canaan High School. They'll have a stream for you. And the next Friday, again, hoping to be here against the current number 11 team in New Jersey, Gill St. Bernard's. A great test ahead of the non-public tournament, which will get going on May 28th. Bosco likely to earn a bye. The top 8 teams will earn a bye to round 2. That was Brady Kushner trying to get inside, put the stick back in his left hand as he got around his defender. His shot, however, off the mark. Bosco will win the run to the far corner. $1:21 left to play in half number 1. As a hidden ball trick, 2-dash lane will play it to the far numbers for Kushner, for Dever, Jason Koo from the far hash. Bosco in no rush. They're looking to possibly play it down to the end of the half as we're inside a minute. Bosco a 4-2 lead. It'll be Dever to work east-west from the far hash to the near hash. Plays it for Scaletti. And now swung around to the far hash. Good off-ball movement. Here's Koo for Dever. Scaletti. Fake the pass to his right. Nice skip pass inside. And it finds Hessen Hillsworth, the sophomore, for his first goal of the afternoon with 30 seconds left to play in our first half. The sophomore Hillsworth, his 7th goal here in 2025. 7th goal of his varsity career. Gives Bosco a 5-2 advantage, again, in our closing stages of our first half. Nice look there by the senior Scaletti. Already has 2 goals on the afternoon. We'll credit him there with a 3rd point. And back to the face-off stripe where it has been all Scott Conti matched up with the junior Chris Marino. A violation called there against Marino. And Conti trying to go a little bit too quickly. One of our officials will whistle him back to the midfield logo. And a timeout to be taken by head coach Matt Lane down on the Bosco sideline. Their second and final timeout as Bosco will try to increase this halftime lead to possibly 4 goals here in the closing stages of our first half. Got some big lacrosse action going on across the state. Some top 20 games to watch. For the Gibbs division, Bosco wrapped it up on Thursday night in the win over Chatham. Perfect in Gibbs division play, but Chatham taking on Mountain Lakes here this afternoon. That game underway as we got started. Number 8 Summit heading to Ridgewood, the number 12 team in New Jersey. That game also face off at 11 a.m. here on this Saturday. Christian Brothers Academy heading to Manasquan, number 15 by way of NJ.com. That's the Shore Conference semifinal. The other Shore Conference semifinal. Number 16 Shore, number 20 Rumson Fairhaven. That game likely starting just about now or about 15 minutes ago. 12 o'clock start. Another Gibbs division matchup. Number 17 Ramapo, no ranked Northern Highlands, an unranked team. That game also just kicked off at 12 o'clock. Some games to look forward to here this afternoon. Number 1 Del Barton heading to Fairfield Prep. That game to start at 1 o'clock. Again, another good likely measuring stick. Bosco lost here at Fairfield, or live here at Granite. Lost to Fairfield Prep back in April, so a little bit of a measuring stick. Again, as I mentioned, Del Barton and Bosco both beating Chatham by differing margins earlier this week. And then the final game, I mentioned it earlier, the Somerset County final at 2:30 p.m. expected start. Gill St. Bernard's, number 11 in New Jersey, and Pingree, the 6th team in the Garden State. Here's Scaletti working east-west. Quickly, 5 seconds left to play in our first half. Dever, his right-handed shot just high and wide of the cage. 1.9 seconds remaining. It's going to be a likely quick pass from Kushner into the crease, as we got a whistle to slow him down. Really, the only thing you could have here is a pass and possible shot quickly. Koo actually a nice handle on the feed inside. His shot, however, off the mark. As that will do it for our opening 24 minutes of action live here from Don Bosco Prep High School. A 5-2 Ironmen lead after one half of play over the number 5 ranked team in New Jersey, the St. Augustine Prep Hermits. Again, both teams undefeated this season in state. One of them will go home with a loss. For, again, 2 of the top 5 ranked teams in New Jersey. A possible non-public quarterfinal, maybe a semifinal we might see in a few weeks, possibly even a finals matchup as we get into the end of the month of May into the month of June. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with half number 2 action live right here on YouTube on SSP Video Highlights. Again, my name, Ryan Holzbus. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with half number 2 action on the other side of this halftime break. A little bit hectic at the beginning, but I made it work.
Yeah, I saw you were kind
An unplug and a plug in, and we're all right. Let me go make sure it sounds good.
Yeah. But you got it all fixed.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, we just won't touch on it. And it sounds actually even better than Monday, so perfect.
Yeah. So the team that wins this moves on to the next round?
This is just regular season game.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just regular season.
When do the playoffs start?
The first round will be May 28th.
Got it.
And then the championship for the private schools is Wednesday, June 11th.
Got it.
Okay, we're playing Westfield on Monday. Is it good? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, we're not in there right now. We're right here. No, you cannot.
Ah!
I have a great announcement.
What?
So how long have you been filming games, my guy?
Since for this company, since September.
Very nice.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been broadcasting games for 3 years now, a little over 3. I went to South Carolina.
Oh, cool.
So I did their club team. Junior year, I only did a few games. But senior year, I did their whole slate of home games. And for their club team was really good. They won the national championship that year, so I got hooked up. I went to Austin for the national championships, which was really cool. So now I work with a network in Jersey, a network in New York for tournaments, Cardinal Hayes football for the fall, and then I just started doing Bosco here this spring.
Did you do this full time or is this just a
It's just side hobby for me, man.
But you're
Side
able to
hobby.
do a full-time job?
Financial planner.
Nice.
Financial advising, yeah. Yeah, it's a side hustle hobby, man. I love this. This is like literally the top 3 favorite thing for me to do.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun. A lot of fun.
as you can see,
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard it when I got here. I was supposed to be in Charleston right now.
Really?
I was at Newark yesterday. My flight got canceled.
Oh, wow.
So, fortunately, it got delayed like 3 times yesterday afternoon. I said, forget it, like I say, because it's live. I got this sort of ready.
Yeah.
Like, did this, and I put the names and numbers in, so that 11 o'clock last night I could fill all this in.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did that, because otherwise I would have been in poor shape. I would have been showing up here with NJ.com roster.
Do you do all their games or just some of their games?
Right now, I did Fairfield Prep, Ridgewood, Northern Highlands. We just did Bergen on Monday, so this is my 5th. I've done for them. We should have done Chatham, but I work with Local Live, which is NJ.com, is where they put the games. And they did Thursday's game. I'm like their number 3. So Dan Long is the number 1 guy. He was here doing it.
Yeah.
So I was sitting right here where this guy is.
Yeah.
Right down in the bleachers.
Yeah.
I was watching them do it essentially.
Yeah.
But this was 5. We're looking at Gill next Friday, which would be 6. And then quarterfinal, semifinal would hopefully be 7 and 8.
Got it.
And then hopefully next year we can do some better pre-planning and try to get some either advertisements worked in or ad reads at least worked in to try to
During like halftime and timeout.
try to make some more money, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad the weather held up.
Oh yeah, no, I knew it was gonna be nice. I mean,
Yeah, it was raining on the way here.
yeah, it was raining when I got here, so. Oh man, I'm hungry as hell. I should have ate something here.
I'm surprised the snack stand that open.
Yeah, I got some granola bars, but I waited too long.
What'd you go to school for?
I went for mass communications was the official, but it was more so for stuff like this, like broadcast media, journalism, and then I minored in business finance.
Got it.
So it's sort of like I came out of school, I was more so looking for, I was trying to get ESPN or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It didn't really work out. So I started with an insurance company, and now I'm at a wealth management firm. So.
Nice.
Yeah, man. It's good stuff. I enjoy it. I love this though. So
Yeah.
it's nice that I'm able to do both because I'm right in North Hilden.
Nice.
It's only 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
So this actually, because I reached out to these guys, Northern Highlands, Ridgewood, and Ramapo, Bergen Catholic. Friggin', they're all in my area.
Yeah.
They all start their home games at 4:15, 4:30.
Yeah.
I'd have to get out of work early in order to
Yeah.
make that. I'd have to leave at like 3:30 in order to make
Yeah.
those games. So this is perfect. All their games during the week are 6:30 starts.
Yeah.
So I don't got to worry about leaving early, and I don't got to worry about. I just sort of leave, come right here, and they're the number 2 team in the state, so it's like you can't even get better than that.
It's a lot of fun.
They played Ridgewood and Northern Highlands, and I did both games, and I'm like falling asleep.
Yeah. Why? Because they're beating so bad?
They were so much better.
Yeah.
I figured Northern Highlands. I thought Ridgewood was going to be really good though.
Yeah. Is this private school or public school?
They're both privates.
Got it. Do they play public school or just private school?
They do. Yeah. Yeah, they play essentially in their division. I think they're the only private school in their division.
Got it.
Alrighty, let's get it, man.
Actually, impressed they're here.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our halftime buzzer. There it is, in case you didn't hear it. Has just sounded. Our 2 teams will soon retake the field. We'll get half number 2 started. Again, my name Ryan Holsbus, joined by Anthony Bertolo, operating the camera, producing this afternoon's game for you all watching and listening at home. We appreciate you tuning in live right here on YouTube on SSP Video Highlights. Yes, it's Don Bosco Prep, number 2 team in New Jersey, a current 5-2 lead over the number 5 team in New Jersey, St. Augustine Prep. The Hermits out of Richland, New Jersey, made about a 2.5 hour drive up either the Parkway or Garden State Parkway or the Turnpike. This morning was probably an early morning for the Hermits. They trailed 1-0 to get started, and then 2 quick goals by the junior Penn State commit Ryan Woodzak, 2 goals, his 28th and 29th on the season. And then it's been all Bosco ever since. As a whistle on the face-off will be a violation called against St. Augustine. So possession awarded here to Bosco to get our second half started. It's 2 goals for John Dever, 2 goals for Brady Scaletti, and Heston Hellsworth was the third goal scorer, scored the 5th goal here this afternoon for Bosco. And as I mentioned, for St. Augustine Prep, Ryan Woodzak, the junior captain, Penn State commit, 2 goals on the afternoon. So here's Jason Koo, 27 in black, one of the main initiators here for Bosco when it comes to getting it started from the dodge. Now Heston Halesworth, 1 in black from our near wing. Now it's Dever from the far hash to get things started. A skip pass in front. Jason Koo, great off-ball movement. Caught it with the stick in his left hand. A quick shot off the mark, and it's St. Augustine Prep winning the run out to the far corner. So the Hermits will trigger it in from the end line. Great run out there by the St. Augustine Prep defenders. 2 white jerseys down there diving for the far corner to gift the Hermits this offensive possession as they get it across midfield. Into the stick of our Hermits goal scorer, Ryan Woodzak. Down the far alley, it's Jack Hendricks, the sophomore, who'll play it behind. Swung around to our near sideline here for the junior Ryan Diamond. He's matched up with 26 in black, that's Jack Murphy. Matching him step for step as Diamond goes east-west to his left. Around the crease, trying to find teammate here near sideline. 41 in white, that was Colin McGargle. He was unable to handle that pass out of play, and Bosco will take over from our near sideline. As it's Norum, a pass across midfield for Jack Murphy. However, he's trailed check from behind. Jack Gunaris, the senior, he'll pick up the loose ball, flick it back on field as he was pushed off out of play into the substitution box. St. Augustine Prep, a nice ground ball and a right-handed shot there from Brayson Thurber, the sophomore, saved by O'Hara. Came into the afternoon just over 80 saves. An off-ball push will keep possession right here with St. Augustine Prep, as we're about 2.5 minutes through our third quarter. Bosco still a 5-2 lead, as it will be McGarrigle, a freshman, one of the few freshmen we might see here this afternoon. He is number 41 in white. Played to Ryan Diamond, the junior, as he'll initiate, matched up with Murphy from the point, shoulder to shoulder. Murphy almost pushed off his feet for Woodzak. One more into the stick and out of the stick of Jack Hendricks. Ball on the turf and scooped up by Bosco. It's Bossalina, 11 in black across midfield. Finds Scaletti. Here's Scaletti taking his defender one-on-one. Stick still in his left hand, and the senior nets the hat trick. Scaletti, his 51st goal here in 2025. Bulldozing his way through white jerseys, keeping the stick in his left hand. And he buries it for Bosco's 6th goal of the afternoon, as we're just over 3 minutes through our third quarter. A 6-2 lead for the Ironmen. Scaletti, a 2025 NewJersey.com Player of the Year watch list. He was an All-American last season, first team All-State, All-County, All-Gibbs, as he went on to set the Don Bosco single-season goal-scoring record in 2024. Spectacular 2023 sophomore season, a spectacular 2024, and thus far having a great senior 2025 campaign, as Conti won the face-off and was trying to get it to a teammate in the offensive end. A turnover, and the Hermits will look to play it across midfield, but almost stolen away. It was Gunaris who found his intended target, the junior captain Woodzak, who has both goals here this afternoon for St. Augustine. It was Woodzak with the nice handle to keep the possession with St. Augustine Prep. Looking for some answers here offensively, as they've been blanked for what's been over 15 minutes now at least here in this non-public clash between the number 2 and number 5 teams in New Jersey. Woodzak gets his right hand free, and he buries his 3rd goal of the afternoon, the hat trick for the Penn State commit, Ryan Woodzak. There's now 2 hat tricks this afternoon for Bosco Scaletti, the senior, and for St. Augustine Prep, Ryan Woodzak, the Penn State commit junior. Makes our score 6-3 Bosco with 7:44 left to play in our third quarter. Quick fast break. On the face-off win, it's Chris Marino doing it all himself on the face-off win. And just like that, a 6-4 lacrosse game. As St. Augustine Prep chipping away at the Bosco lead. For Marino, his 2nd goal, 5th point here in 2025. 14 of 15 on Tuesday night in the win over Westfield. Very impressive, as he's been just at about 50% in each game this season. Asked head coach J.C. Valori in advance of this afternoon down on the field before we got going, what's the plan to slow down Conti? I mean, one of the best face-off men, not just this season, over the past few years in New Jersey. We've seen a couple double pulls on the wings, but Valori told me it will be Chris Marino because of that. He'll win one here and there and bust it down the field and put one in the back of the net. 6-4 Bosco lead as we hit the 7-minute mark here in quarter number 3. Bosco possession as they look to retake that 3-goal lead. Scaletti being locked off by Jack Gunaris, the senior defender number 3 in white, was along our near sideline. Scaletti will now head behind, goal line extended. Bosco will be content with playing a little 5-on-5 lacrosse here. As it's Halesworth from the midfield logo, will play it to Jason Koo from the near numbers. Will roll to his left, put the stick back in his right hand. Kushner, who was working east-west, got taken to the turf as he was trail checked. Slow to get up as St. Augustine Prep looking to clear to midfield. A collision along the near hash. It was 32 in white Domenico Diego, the junior, trying to get it across midfield. He collided with a Bosco attackman on the ride. Whistle goes against Bosco as the Hermits able to get it across midfield. Gabe Byer, the junior LSM, he'll find an attackman. And a timeout from the St. Augustine Prep sideline. Their first timeout here in half number 2. And with them, we'll step aside for a quick break. It's a 6-4 lacrosse game. Bosco leads as we approach the midway point in quarter number 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back live right here on YouTube on SSP Video Highlights. It's the 4th meeting between these two non-public rivals, dating back at least to 2011, 4th meeting between these two teams. St. Augustine, a 2-1 advantage over those 3 prior games. And they've all been non-public tournament games. So this is the first regular season meeting between those two teams, again, dating back to 2011, which is what NJ.com provided me in some of their archive history material they have available. That 2011 meeting, it was a non-public A semifinal. St. Augustine Prep, a 14-5 win. They went on to lose in that 2011 non-public A championship. They also lost in 2010 in the non-public A final. Fast forward to 2018, a meeting in the non-public A quarterfinal. The Hermits, an 8-7 win at home down in Richland, New Jersey. And then 2021, Don Bosco Prep in the semifinal, an 8-3 win. Don Bosco went on to win the 2021 non-public A state championship along with the Tournament of Champions. As the Tournament of Champions now no more. It is Cursed Cup, which is the replacement for the Tournament of Champions, as the NJSIAA, getting rid of the Tournament of Champions for all varsity sports. That shot from Ryan Diamond to the junior. He was going to his right, back to his left, and then back to his right, got the shot off, matched up with 28 in black Tim Norum. Skipped wide of the cage. And it'll be the Hermits to initiate from the far corner. Was Brayson Thurber, very talented sophomore thus far, held off the score sheet here this afternoon. It'll be Ryan Diamond, the junior, to start with it from the near wing. Pushed wide of the far hash, plays it behind, and now swung to the far wing. So that was Woodzak, 23 in white, got his right hand free about 14 yards from the cage. Trying to make this a 1-goal lacrosse game with 5 minutes to play in quarter number 3. Shot sailed wide, Thurber with the backup. So he plays it behind for 42 in white, that's Acevedo. Getting action here this afternoon with the injury to Sebastian Varallo. Acevedo, pass for Rauchi, 9 in white. This is McGarrigle, the freshman, also getting some action due to the injury to Sebastian Varallo. As it's Thurber from behind.
He's matched up with 28 in black. That's Norm. Nice pass in front as it was Woodzak making a cut into the middle of the field from the top of the restraining box. He was unable to come up with the pass. Bosco with the ground ball up off the turf. A wide open dash lane. One more for Scaletti. His left-handed shot off the mark just over the crossbar as he was slicing from the far numbers 2 cage. He'll trigger it in from the end line. And now Dever from the near numbers. Bosco a 6-4 lead as we hit the 4-minute mark here in our third quarter. It'll be Scaletti from the near low corner. He's matched up with Jack Gunaris, the senior. Pass found Jason Koo as he was making his way north of goal line extended along our near hash. Got a right jump shot off. It skipped wide of the cage. Scaletti back there along the end line with the backup. Matched up with Gunaris. Scaletti will take a pick from, that was Koo. Switched off for the moment, but a quick slide there. Coming in was 32 in white, Zach Bader, the junior. St. Augustine prep defensively, knowing the importance of getting a long stick on Brady Scaletti quickly. As Dever, a skip pass across. Halesworth, the sophomore, bobbled it, but able to come up with the loose ball. A spin move on his defender. Looking for a pass inside. He'll curl it back towards the far numbers. Here's Dever. A spin move along the far hash at the 25-yard line of the football field. Pass here to the point. Kushner for Jason Koo. And originally was working east-west, sticking his right hand, puts it back in his left hand, and tattoos that upper high corner up over the off-stick side of goalie Kyle Helfenstein, number 4 in white, who checks in for the Hermits. What a shot there from the junior Koo, his 10th goal here in 2025 as he was working to his right. And, if, you know, St. Augustine Prep doing their homework. He is their main initiator, working to his right along the 25-yard line or so. A quick foot in the ground, cuts it back to his left, and a bit of a skip or two into the upper far corner, up over the left shoulder of Helfenstein. What a goal for the junior Jason Koo, who head coach Matt Lane mentioned to me just in the build-up to the season, to this game. Someone who's really stepped up offensively and really stepped up here as a junior. Again, their main initiator. Jason Koo makes it a 7-4 lacrosse game with 2:30 left to play in quarter number 3. As St. Augustine Prep, one more change to get an offensive player onto the field. It is the sophomore Evan Acevedo. Came into the afternoon with 3 goals and an assist. Again, just a sophomore. He'll dodge. Matched up with number 3 in black, Rocco Scalia. Played behind. Ball on the stick now of the sophomore, Brayson Thurber. Still scoreless, came into the afternoon with 20 goals and 21 assists. Thurber to our near wing. And now for Acevedo, who slips down to the turf, covered closely. Acevedo is by Murphy. However, Acevedo able to get a step on his defender, but a nice save by James O'Hara keeps our score at 7-4 as we hit the minute 30 mark. No change of planes. O'Hara able to match that shot easy. As Jason Koo pass across midfield for Jack Murphy into the stick of John Dever. And a possible unsettled situation here for Bosco. Dever will instead opt to play it to the near numbers. Jason Koo will begin walking it in from those near numbers. Dangerous pass for Brady Kushner. However, Kushner able to handle it. Some man ball action in the middle of the field. St. Augustine Prep kicks it across midfield. And a nice ground ball by McGarrigle, the freshman, 41 in white. Able to play quickly forward is the Hermits. But a nice save by James O'Hara. Ball kicks its way all the way to our near sideline and out of play. And our possession awarded to Bosco with 50 seconds left to play in our third quarter.
quickly. Bosco into the middle of the field as they look to clear across midfield. Brady Kushner, one-man clear, will do just that. However, he is in trouble. Aimless pass trying to find Dash Lane. And now St. Augustine Prep defender across midfield. It was 11 in white. That is Nicholas Moores. And then it was Brady Kushner, 20 in black, who lost his stick, then played without it as he gave Moores a shoulder at midfield, drew the whistle, and a quick restart here for St. Augustine Prep. As we're inside now, 20 seconds here in our third quarter. Hermits need to work quickly here as it's Woodzak from our near numbers. He'll play it for Ryan Diamond, the junior, in the middle of the field. And now the sophomore, Jack Hendricks, from the point. Inside 10 seconds, already inside 5 seconds. Pass finds its way to Brayson Thurber. The sophomore sneaks it in along O'Hara's near side pipe just to his left. 0.6 of a second left on our third quarter game clock as Brayson Thurber, the sophomore, nets his first goal of the afternoon. His 21st goal here in 2025. That's St. Augustine's Prep third goal of the third quarter, and it makes it a 2-goal lacrosse game. Bosco a 7-5 lead as we'll have a face-off here and then the end of our third quarter. Action-packed last couple seconds there. Didn't think it was like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and didn't really look like St. Augustine Prep was looking to get anything really initiated. All of a sudden, we got a man on the ground. It was McGarrigle, I believe. The freshman gets up, one more to Thurber, and got his left hand free, sneaks it in along that near pipe. And James O'Hara's left elbow, left shoulder makes our score 7-5. 12 minutes of top 5 New Jersey lacrosse action left in front of us. I know I'm excited for it. Hope you all are too. Don't go anywhere as we have 12 minutes of lacrosse left to be played live right here on YouTube and SSP video highlights. Make sure to like, subscribe, and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a minute or two for quarter number 4 action.
Because the 1 year he coached, right?
1 year he did music grad.
Jake did a great thing down there.
At this place for 2 years now.
Like I said, I'm just a teacher. I'm oh, well, I'm cheering out loud. The camera's right there. I'm yelling.
Back here live, ladies and gentlemen, from Granatell Stadium in Ramsey, New Jersey, Bergen County, Don Bosco Prep High School, as our two teams slowly begin to retake the field here for quarter number 4 action. As I've mentioned it a few times, Don Bosco Prep enters this beautiful Saturday, May 17th, one of the last weekends of the regular season, a record of 12-4. As for St. Augustine Prep, enters this beautiful Saturday, a record of 13-2. Those 6 losses combined between the two teams all have come versus out-of-state opponents. So for one of these two teams in 12 minutes or so, unless we get additional free lacrosse, one of them is heading home with a loss in that loss column, or a tally, I should say, in that loss column against a New Jersey opponent, as Scott Conti on the tie-up at the face-off ended up coming away with the possession, and a trail check from a white jersey draws a penalty flag just north of midfield on the Don Bosco Prep half of midfield. So a delayed penalty to come on the slash. Bosco will have a delayed penalty possession here as we're already 30 seconds through our 4th and final quarter. Don Bosco Prep a 7-5 lead as we enter our final frame of action. If you look at the numbers, pretty on brand with what you'd expect for Bosco. They score about 10 goals per game. They allow about just under 6.5. However, their last 12 games, they've been pretty stellar, dating back all the way to April 5th. They haven't given up 10 goals in a game, and they've allowed just 5 goals per game over those 12 contests, as Brady Scaletti got his left hand free, about 7 yards or so from the cage around our near hash. It was a nice save by, I believe it's Helfenstein, number 4 in white. It is, as it was Ben Zaitz, the senior, who had the first half, the Elizabethtown commit for the Hermits. It's now Kyle Helfenstein, the 6'5", 200-pound junior Richmond commit, has second half duties here for St. Augustine Prep. Helfenstein, also a basketball player, a center. In 2024, this past winter, 193 points, 52 rebounds, and 27 assists for the junior. And also a football player, had 10 receptions for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2024. Bosco on the man up, 6-5, man advantage. See what head coach Matt Lane and his staff have drawn up here. It was a wide open number 12 in Plaque on the doorstep, and then Kushner a one-on-one with the goalie Helfenstein, and I believe Helfenstein got a piece of it. There was Scaletti with a chance. I want to say a defender might have got a piece of that one, and the ball had to play along the end line. Possession awarded to St. Augustine Prep there along the end line. A handful of white jerseys down there. Our official was right there on the scene, and now the Hermits across midfield. Ball safely in the stick of the sophomore Brayson Thurber. As there was a black jersey, maybe, might have been 13, William DeMallo, the sophomore down there. There was a number I didn't recognize for Bosco. Nonetheless, it's a Hermits offensive possession, and right there getting it going, it's Jack Hendricks, the sophomore, dodging down the far alley, the right alley along the far hash. A right-hand corkscrew as he uncorked that one. St. Augustine Prep clawing back into this one. Just over 2 minutes through our fourth quarter, a 7-6 lead for Bosco.
Come on, Scotty.
Makes our score 7-6. Bosco leads, 9:42 left to play.
Go, Scott.
Between two
Nice.
non-public rivals. Conti, another face-off win, finds Norham, and Dever touching the restraining box. Again, a matchup that we're expecting to likely see come the quarterfinal, scheduled for, I believe it's Tuesday, June 3rd. Friday, June 6th is the non-public semifinal. To conclude with Wednesday, June 11, the non-public boys and girls championships. Imagining that these two teams might filter down to a matchup in one of those 3 rounds. Obviously will depend on the seeding. Bosco, the current number 2 team in the state. St. Augustine, number 5. You look at the NJ top 20, as it's Kushner to initiate from the far high corner. Nice pass inside for Dash Lane, and a great save there by Helfenstein, the Richmond commit. That was an off-stick shot. Had to go get that one to his left, as the Hermits will now look to clear. But if you look at the top, call it 6, 5 of those teams are non-public teams. Del Barton, number 1. Bosco, number 2. Seton Hall Prep is number 3. Del Barton beat Seton Hall Prep back in April. The Pirates heading up to Fairfield Prep later this afternoon. St. Augustine, number 5, and then Pingree, number 6. So you'd have to imagine those 4 teams will likely make up the top 4. You then got Gill St. Bernard's at number 11. Here's Hendricks down the far alley. Thought he might repeat his shot and goal from before, which took me a little bit by surprise. Here's Woodzak this time down the right alley. Play it behind for Hendricks, who bobbles it. He's matched up with Murphy. Hendricks to his right, shot very wide of the goal. It actually hit a white jersey. I don't know if it was a pass or a shot. In the end, ball on the ground, scooped up by, I believe that's Ben Linder, number 40 in black, the senior captain it is. The Mercer commit across midfield finds Scaletti, who is yet to get a touch into the restraining box. Strong defense by Gunaris, who pokes it free. Here's Gunaris. Ground ball off the turf and across midfield. St. Augustine Prep touching the restraining box. They'll slow things down to get some of those offensive players on. It's Woodzak, the first out of the substitution box. He'll settle things in. Diamond, 22 in white, will check off, allowing the junior Anthony Pizzuti to check in. As we are over 5 minutes through our fourth quarter. Bosco a 7-6 lead. It's Anthony Pizzuto, I believe the first time mentioning his name, the junior. Number 1 in white. Skip pass across for Woodzak. And his right hand sniper shot there. You can call it from the near hash. Just high and wide, or not wide, but high of the crossbar. Ball finds its way back to the junior Woodzak. Heading to Penn State in 2 seasons' time. He'll be back at St. Augustine Prep next spring. Is Acevedo down the far hash. Ball finds its way back to the sophomore Thurber. Standing 6'2", matched up with, believe that is 43 in black. It is. That's Mikey Marino, the Richmond commit. Here's Pizzuti. South of goal line, extended. He'll play it north of GLE for Woodzak. From the near hash. Ball knocked out by Carson Shervin. Great defense there by the University of Tampa commit, the senior. And it is St. Augustine Prep, however, to get back on ball. Big hit there by Linder. And that should be an interference there. It is. 40 in black. Linder lost his helmet, but it was, you'd call it in football, a crackback block by Acevedo, 42 in white. Turnover across midfield and a timeout by the Don Bosco Prep sideline there. First here in half number 2. Both teams with 1 timeout remaining as we are inside 6 minutes. 5:25 left to play here from Granitel Stadium in Don Bosco Prep. The Ironmen a 7-6 lead. Again, with those 5 minutes, 25 seconds left to play. Action-packed, as it seemed like in that first half. Obviously, Bosco struck first. St. Augustine Prep answered with 2 goals in our opening few minutes. Our first 6 minutes dominated by a little bit of technical difficulties on our end, getting the audio up and running. But the video is there and available for you all on demand. It will be after the conclusion of this afternoon's game for all our Bosco as well as St. Augustine Prep fans. But Bosco in the advantage. Second quarter, 3-0 to close out our first half, a 5-2 lead. And it's seemingly been the Hermits, St. Augustine Prep, controlling the last, call it, 18 or 19 minutes or so here in half number 2. A 4-2 advantage in this second half makes our score 7-6. However, it will be Bosco to start our next possession from the far sideline around the far numbers is where the timeout came in. As I mentioned, these two teams, some big heavyweight games down the stretch in next week's final week of regular season action. St. Augustine will head to Del Barton, the #1 team in New Jersey at present, per NJ.com. That's next Friday, the 23rd. As for Don Bosco, 3 games left on the regular season schedule, all for next season. Monday, Bosco will head to Westfield, the #7 team in New Jersey. That's Monday the 19th. Then Wednesday the 21st, up to Connecticut to take on New Canaan, one of the top-ranked teams in the state of Connecticut. And I guess just a food for thought for you all, Bosco fans. New Canaan knocked off Fairfield Prep last Saturday. I went up to Connecticut to tune in for that one. It was a great one. 11-6, I want to say, was the final. New Canaan at home took down the Jesuits of Fairfield Prep. So I guess a little bit of a measuring stick there. As we were mentioning, Chatham, who lost to Del Barton earlier this week in the Morris County final. Here's Jason Koo, left-handed shot saved by Helfenstein. As it was Koo
virtually unguarded there, was able to slice his way in from the 35-yard line to about the 25-yard line of the football field, get that left-handed shot off, but Helfenstein the save. But yeah, New Canaan went over Fairfield Prep last Saturday. It was a great game, but a measuring stick. And we look again at Chatham, who fell to Del Barton. 13-12 was the score at Drew University on Monday night in the Morris County final. Chatham then comes here to Don Bosco Prep and loses on Thursday night, the final 11-5. A little bit of a different story. As there's a shot from Ryan Diamond, the junior. He nets his first goal of the afternoon, and that ties our score at 7.
22, Ryan Diamond.
Diamond, his 12th goal here in 2025, 31st point. He had a hat trick in not back-to-back games, but sort of back-to-back games. Scored 3 goals in the win, or excuse me, looking at the wrong player. That's for Woodzak, has hat trick against Westfield on Tuesday, hat trick against Perkiomen last week out of Pennsylvania. But for Ryan Diamond, had 3 goals back in April versus Rumson Fairhaven. An Air Force Academy commit. We'll be back here at St. Augustine Prep next spring. But that ties our score up here at 7. And a quick timeout by the Hermits. That's their second and final timeout here in half number 2 with 4:04 left to play. Again, all tied up at 7. As we've got a lacrosse game on our hands here, folks. After the Chris Marino face-off, they'll look to try to take their first lead of the afternoon since the 2-1 lead back in quarter number 1. But I was discussing Chatham and sort of the measuring stick that the NJ.com people might, or not really, measuring stick to lead to the dilemma that they might have. Again, there's been very little change. Bosco started the season number 1. I want to say it was Del Barton 2, Seton Hall Prep 3. There's been a little bit of juggling there amongst the top 3. Bosco has been number 2, though, since I believe week 2 they got relegated from 1 to 2. It was Seton Hall Prep 1, Del Barton 3. They then played each other. Del Barton won, so they flip-flopped. Del Barton, Bosco, then Seton Hall Prep. It was, I believe, Summit was number 4 in the state for a little while. Shawnee is the current number 4 holder. Morristown was up to as high as number 5, but St. Augustine Prep knocked off Morristown. A May 1st meeting at Morristown, a 4-1 finish for head coach J.C. Valori and the Hermits. Valori actually attended Morristown, so took down his alma mater in a 4-1 game, a low-scoring contest between 2 current top 10 teams. St. Augustine Prep, I believe, was in the top 10, at least the top 15 at the time. Westfield, Pingree have been up in the top 5 throughout the season. But again, just to give, I guess, everybody an idea, the dilemma the NJ.com people might have. And again, essentially, I guess it's the coaches and the committees when it comes down to it, how you seed those teams in the non-public tournament, because it will come semifinal time. Home field advantage for the top 2 teams will be what's at stake there. So we'll see how that all factors out and figures its way out here over the final week of regular season action to conclude next week. We're inside 4 minutes. Again, all tied up at 7 here from Granitel Stadium. Jack Hendricks looked like, I should say, was going to crank one with his left hand on the run. Opted to go behind the cage. Here's Woodzak. 3 goals on the afternoon. Play to the far sideline for Ryan Diamond, our most recent goal scorer. Covered closely by Aiden Kong, 60 in black. As we approach 3 minutes to play. It's Thurber, has a goal here in this second half. Gets a goal side of goal line, extended his shot off the mark. O'Hara called into action but didn't need to make a save. Be Ryan Diamond, 22 in white, to begin with it from behind the goal as we hit 3 minutes to play in our 4th and final frame. It'll be overtime and sudden death if our 2 teams don't break our 7-7 tie in the next 2 minutes 45 seconds or so. St. Augustine Prep in no rush.
Down the far alley was the sophomore Acevedo. Ball finds the stick of Thurber. Again, that talented sophomore. Currently uncommitted, but likely drawing a ton of interest. Here's Raucci, the junior. 16 goals for Raucci entering the afternoon. Ball finds its way back to the sophomore Hendricks into the far hash for Woodzak. Pushed far of the hash out there along the far sideline. The ball again finds its way to Thurber in the near low corner. Looks like he's going to take the Richmond commit Marino head on here. And he will. Here comes the pick from, believe that's Acevedo, 42 in white. Strong check there by Marino before Thurber gets rid of it to the far hash. Making his way east-west is Reed Weissar, 10 in white. And then Jack Hendricks, for a moment, thought he might be able to get a look, but wasn't able to get the angle north of goal line extended. Woodzak, a chance for a ground ball, has it knocked loose, and a ball skied into the air, controlled by Jack Hendricks. And a whistle, and an unforced turnover. Had to have been a violation somewhere in terms of off ball, maybe a moving pick or something of that sort. Bosco plays the ball downfield, across midfield, and a touch in the restraining box, and a timeout from head coach Matt Lane and company down along the Bosco sideline. Their second and final. So both our two teams over our final minute 16 without a timeout. So Bosco likely to draw something up here. Would have to expect that we see them probably take their time. I wouldn't imagine they're in much of a rush here over our final minute 16. Again, no shot clock by NJSIAA standards. I know talking to some people from St. Augustine Prep before we got going, Pennsylvania has a shot clock by their league-wide rules. So St. Augustine Prep, in their handful of games, taking on Pennsylvania opponents, they utilize the shot clock. As in college, it's an 80-second shot clock followed by a 60-second reset on a shot that hits the goalie or hits a pipe. It'll reset to 60 if the offense recovers. Likely to hope, or not going to say likely, we're hoping to see that instituted by the NJSIAA sometime over the next few years or so. You just see in college the positives that it produces, just faster games, faster play, tempo. Some handful of college lacrosse action happening across, college lacrosse is the NCAA quarterfinals, so happening across the country, we should say. Richmond, a 6-5 lead at halftime over the number 1 team, Cornell, currently, and Syracuse and Princeton to start at 2:30. Those are the two quarterfinal games happening here this afternoon, but we are all locked in right now on this top 5 matchup as we have 1 minute left to play. 7-7 tie between the Don Bosco Prep Ironmen and the St. Augustine Prep Hermits. It's Scaletti who carries to the far sideline, wide of the far numbers. 45 seconds left to play. Scaletti matched up with Jack Gunaris, senior committed to the Air Force Academy. Scaletti, as you all probably know by now, especially you Bosco supporters, he's a 5-star heading to Duke University. Has a hat trick now in 13 games this season as we're down to 20 seconds. Here's Scaletti working on Gunaris. Pushed behind Cage. Left hand free, saved by Helfenstein. And the ball go out of play along the end line. Jason Koo right there to initiate it. Here's Dash Lane. Inside roll on his defender. Right hand free shot. Skies high over the cage. And the nearest defender there is Jack Gunaris, 3 in white. And our final seconds will tick down as 48 minutes of lacrosse action. Not enough for our 2 top 5 New Jersey teams. We will head to overtime, all tied up at 7 here at Granitel Stadium. So some free lacrosse for you all watching and listening from home. I told you, both these two teams, they have not lost to a New Jersey opponent all season. If you're head coach Matt Lane for Don Bosco Prep, in 2 seasons as head coach, he has not lost to a New Jersey opponent. we've now got sudden death, golden goal, overtime to decide which of these two teams heads home with a loss in New Jersey play, as John Dever will head to midfield, joined by Ben Zeitz, the senior goalie who had first half action for the Hermits in between the pipes. Going to have to imagine it is Helfenstein who will be the starting goalie to continue from half number 2 into overtime. Trying to get an idea here between who wins and loses the coin toss. It really matters for which side of the field, as at the coin toss, if you win, you're given the choice of first AP, which is first automatic possession, essentially a 50-50 ball. Officials will resort to that AP for that situation. Or you get to choose side of the field. Doesn't really play too much of a factor right now. The wind is gusting from right to left. Not too strong, though. It's a light breeze, as I see from the flags over by the scoreboard. The sun is at its highest peak, as we are at about noon right now. So the sun, the glare, not really to play much of a factor. As it is Kyle Helfenstein in cage for the St. Augustine Prep Hermits to start overtime. We are all tied up at 7. Bosco blanked in quarter number 4. And Scott Conti, who's been so strong all afternoon, all season, and all through his 4-year varsity career. It is Chris Marino, the junior, a big face-off win, possibly the biggest here this afternoon. Just 9 seconds through our overtime period, what is a 4-minute overtime period. Again, sudden death, golden goal, first team to score wins. A timeout from the St. Augustine Prep sideline. If I remember correctly, I believe both of these two teams have one timeout here in overtime. I guess we'll find out if the Hermits end up going and using a second here in our next 3:51, if we end up using that full 3 minutes 51 seconds. Bosco still with their one timeout down on their sideline. As again, this has been back and forth. It was St. Augustine Prep who struck first. Don Bosco answered. They led for the rest of this game. It was a 5-2 halftime lead for the Ironmen. We went into our fourth quarter, not tied, 7-5, Bosco on top. And then our only 2 goals of quarter number 4, it was a Jack Hendricks goal as well as a Ryan Diamond goal to make our score 7-7 and send us to overtime. And now it's the Hermits, an offensive possession. Again, 3:51 left to play. Clock really doesn't play too much of a factor unless we come towards the end of that 3 minutes 51 seconds. But again, for the most part, this is golden goal, sudden death, overtime for the number 2 and number 5 team in the Garden State per NJ.com. And again, all 5 lacrosse state championships, Group 1 through 4, and the non-public state title game, along with softball, baseball, other sports, all live on NJ.com. Skip pass to the point for Ryan Diamond, 22 in white. He bobbled it for a moment and then recovered the loose ball. He'll back his way towards the 40-yard line of the football field, covered by Jack Murphy, 26 in black. Slide comes quickly from Chervin. Behind for Thurber, the sophomore, trying to get goal side. Marino with the great defense. Spun around quickly to our near hash. Woodzak against the shorty. That was Murphy. Murphy recovers to find a white jersey behind goal line extended. That was Hendricks down the far alley, pushed wide and plays it behind for Thurber. Matched up with the short stick, Jack Murphy. Just over a minute through our first minute of this overtime period. We'll play another if we go through that 3.5. That shot off the mark. Jack Hendricks sails one high and wide of the cage. Our Bosco supporters and James O'Hara pleading to the official, trying to say O'Hara was the closest one there, being the keeper in cage. However, possession awarded to St. Augustine. It'll be Thurber to initiate, matched up with Marino, the junior. Thurber to his right, back to his left, and along goal line extended, puts the stick back in his right hand. Plays to the forward numbers. It's Hendricks. Split dodge to his left. And he'll initiate from a long goal line extended. Right hand free, sails that high and wide of the cage, and outstretched James O'Hara. Not sure if he got a piece of that one, as we're almost halfway through this first overtime period. It'll be the sophomore Thurber with a goal this afternoon. It cut the Bosco lead to 1 back in quarter number 3. Thurber trying to send the Ironmen home. As Thurber plays it to midfield, it's Acevedo, the sophomore, matched up with Murphy. Murphy will pass off Acevedo to Kang. Acevedo gets his left hand free, and a bouncing shot. Wasn't sure if it was due to the check or maybe it was Kang, 60 in black, who got a piece of the shot, but it was a slow bouncing ball made its way to O'Hara, and Bosco will now try to get it across midfield. They have 20 seconds to do so, and then 10 seconds to get it into the restraining box. O'Hara, a shot on cage, you'd have to imagine. Diving is John Dever for the end line. Possession awarded to St. Augustine. And defender Nicholas Moores, the senior, number 11 in white, who made the run out down there for the end line as St. Augustine prep across midfield. So the Ironmen in the opening now approaching 3 minutes as we approach a minute left to play in our first overtime. Bosco, no offensive possession there. It was O'Hara. A shot on goal essentially is what they counted that as. And from our vantage point, it was Dever as well as Moores, 11 in white, Dever 9 in black. The run out to the end line, possession awarded to Moores and St. Augustine Prep. As it's Ryan Diamond, 1 goal this afternoon. It was the goal that tied our score at 7. He holds at midfield along the far numbers as we hit 30 seconds left to play in our first overtime period. If our score remains tied at 7, we will play a second overtime. St. Augustine Prep waiting for the final 15 seconds. We just hit it there. Here's Diamond to his left. Finds Acevedo, middle of the field. Sticking his left hand back to his right. Here's Diamond, right hand crank shot from well wide of the cage. And a flag had also come in. 6 seconds left to play. Bosco had won the run out to the end line. Not entirely sure what the penalty flag is for, as it will be a 6-on-5 man advantage here for St. Augustine.
What the hell happened?
Not sure what happened there for Bosco, possibly an offsides, maybe a slash. I don't really think we saw a any notification from our officials. But that's the end of our opening 4 minutes. Again, like I mentioned, this game ain't over. We got goal and goal. There ain't no ties here. Lacrosse, somebody is going home with a win, and one of these two teams going home with their first loss in state to a New Jersey opponent this season. Just a recap there of that overtime, though. A solid opening possession for St. Augustine, and then Bosco, no offensive possession. O'Hara, the clear pass downfield / shot on goal, sailed high and wide of the cage. That was the extent of their offense there in that first overtime. So would have to imagine head coach Matt Lane down on the sideline stressing, hey, we get the ball, whether it's a clear or offensively, we need to be smart with it. As for St. Augustine Prep, mentioned that good first offensive possession. They tried to put something together there towards the end of the overtime period. I'm not really too sure what the plan was. They let it come all the way down to 15, and the shot really wasn't much of a significant chance on goal. However, there was a flag down, so the expectation here is that it'll be 6-on-5, St. Augustine Prep on the man up to start our second overtime. If we were to start one of the quarters, or if we were to start half number 2, I would tell you there would be no face-off. We're going to start with the Hermits man up from the offensive end. Not entirely sure what the case is for overtime. I don't see Chris Marino, number 5 in white, coming out. I also don't see Scott Conti, 6 in black, heading out there either. So exactly what I just mentioned. Since it was the penalty man up to end the overtime. No face-off. St. Augustine Prep will begin overtime number 2, another 4-minute overtime with the ball along the far sideline. Now Diamond from the point, back to Woodzak along the far hash. Again, Bosco essentially without an offensive possession here in our first 4 minutes of overtime lacrosse. As the Hermits, far sideline, Ryan Diamond, bounce shot, skips just over the outstretched reach of O'Hara as he came flying out of his cage trying to cut off the angle on the shot. Here's Rauchi, near hash for Diamond. Again, St. Augustine Prep man up here for, honestly not sure of the timing. We're through 30 seconds, so it must be a minute penalty. 6 on 5 here for the Hermits. Ball on the stick of Diamond, 22 and white. He'll let a right-handed shot go there. Want to say O'Hara got a piece of it, and a piece of the crossbar is where Diamond's shot found. Ground ball by the Hermits. Penalty releases. It was a minute penalty, so we're back to all even 6 on 6. And through that first minute of our second overtime, St. Augustine Prep, again, with no shot clock. Regardless, we would have had a reset there on the save/crossbar. But St. Augustine Prep gets 2 offensive personnel off the field and sub on 2 new white jerseys for this now 6 on 6 as we're a minute and a half through our second overtime. Tied at 7. Here's Reed Weissar. Senior's been quiet here this afternoon. Skip pass trying to find, believe that is Diamond. The far hash ball makes its way to midfield. Black jerseys hit the turf. Ball still loose. Ground ball recovered by Marino, and before he had it jarred loose, a timeout from head coach Matt Lane and the Don Bosco Prep sideline. And that should, with 2 minutes, 13 seconds left on our second overtime period, that should allow Bosco to settle in to what will be their first offensive possession here in our overtime periods. It's going to come about 6 minutes into overtime. Bosco, along with Dever, Scaletti, Kushner, and company, they'll get an opportunity here to try to win this game. Again, tied up at 7 here in, if I can do some quick math, 54th minute we're going on of high school lacrosse action live right here from Granitel Stadium and Don Bosco Prep. I'm going to keep it right here. No reason to go to a break. I guess I'll do some cleaning up, throw some papers away that we no longer need because this is overtime. We're going to get a golden goal and go home. Again, head coach Matt Lane trying to stay perfect in state. His second year as head coach. Bosco won the 2024 non-public A title. Looking to defend that championship. It was a 17-3 2024. Those 3 losses coming all out of state. And their 4 losses thus far this season coming in state. So head coach Matt Lane, as I've been mentioning throughout this afternoon's program, undefeated in New Jersey, trying to keep it that way. It'll be Scaletti, the talented senior Duke commit, 15 in black. To start with it from midfield, Bosco does need to get a touch in the restraining box. Scaletti will have 10 seconds to do so. And in the opening few, he'll do just that. Scaletti, left hand free, shot sails high of the 6-foot Helfenstein, or 6'5", excuse me, Helfenstein.
Let's go, Bosco.
A tower in there between the pipes. Sailed high over Helfenstein and the cage. Possession will stay right here with Bosco with the backup. It'll be Halesworth, the sophomore. A goal in the Bergen County final versus Bergen Catholic. 2 goals on Thursday night versus Chatham for Dash Lane, 2 in black. Kushner, 20, made a cut from the near hash to the far hash. Here's Kushner again. Great ball movement. He rattles one off the crossbar. As Kushner came from the far hash, cut through to the near hash, and just kept moving. Went all the way around the crease, behind goal line, extended, and then curled north of GLE. Received the pass, quick shot, and bounces that one up and off the crossbar. Scaletti to initiate from the far corner, and his pass trying to find, believe that was Jason Koo, off Koo's stick, and recovered by St. Augustine Prep. And the Hermits, starting with goalie Kyle Helfenstein, will clear north of midfield, and a timeout taken by the St. Augustine Prep sideline. Again, both teams, I believe, only awarded one timeout here in overtime, so they've both now burned each of their only timeouts. $1:14 left to play in our second overtime period. And again, our score has not changed. We're all tied up at 7. I guess we'll go over some game goal scorers. Brady Scaletti has 3 goals this afternoon. John Dever has tallied 2. Jason Koo, a goal, and Heston Hillsworth makes it 7 for Don Bosco. However, they have not scored. They only have 1 goal in half number 2 action, if you also want to include the now almost 7 minutes of overtime. As for St. Augustine Prep, 3 goals, a hat trick from the talented junior, the Penn State commit, Ryan Woodzak. It's now 5 games that Woodzak has recorded a hat trick. He's now recorded a hat trick in 3 of his last 4 contests. Brayson Thurber, the very talented sophomore who head coach J.C. Valori very excited to have for next season and for 2027 as well. He has a goal. Ryan Diamond, the most recent goal scorer, tied our score at 7. Chris Marino, the face-off man, netted 1 as well. His second goal of 2025. Jack Hendricks, the other goal scorer, he netted his goal in quarter number 4 to make our score 7-6. It'll be St. Augustine Prep from just north of midfield, a touch in the restraining box, and 1:10 left to play in our second overtime period. We'll play a third if neither of our 2 teams break the scoreless tie. And St. Augustine Prep will run this down to the end of the overtime period. So we hit 50 seconds. What a game it's been. Low scoring, but some great saves on each end by James O'Hara, the senior, heading to Siena, has been spectacular. For St. Augustine Prep, Ben Zeitz heading to Elizabethtown next season, had a very strong first half. Kyle Helfenstein, the junior, has been stellar here in half number 2. He's only allowed 1 goal. He's allowed 2 goals here in half number 2, and obviously that spills over into our almost 2 full overtime periods. We're inside now 12 seconds. St. Augustine Prep will now start to spin the ball around. Inside 6 seconds. Here's Woodzak. Spin to get the stick back in his right hand, and his shot saved by James O'Hara. And the buzzer will sound to end our second overtime period. Our score still 7-7. As St. Augustine Prep slow played it for the final minute 15 or so, all the way down to 15 seconds to initiate. And Ryan Woodzak hunting his 4th goal of the afternoon, and the game winner saved by the senior O'Hara. He has been spectacular here this afternoon, and we'll head to a third overtime period. And what will start our, if I do my math correctly, I believe 56th minute of lacrosse here this afternoon from Granatell Stadium. I'm going to step aside, have a quick sip of water. Don't go anywhere. Live right here on SSP video highlights from Don Bosco Prep. All tied up at 7 between 2 top 5 teams in New Jersey.
Yeah, somebody needs to score at this point. Let's go. Just better be hustling. Can't handle it. Now. Yeah. That ass off the stool.
Back here live, ladies and gentlemen, from Granite Hill Stadium, Don Bosco Prep High School. I hope you've been with us because this has been a phenomenal game from start to finish. We had some technical difficulties with the audio getting started, but at about the 6-minute mark, we were fully live here from Granite Hill Stadium. It has been a stellar game from both sides. All tied up at 7. Our second overtime started man up without a face-off, but we will kick this third overtime period off with a tie-up at the face-off stripe between the senior Scott Conti, one of the best face-off men in New Jersey, as well as Chris Marino, the junior, who has put up a stellar fight here. I've been using the word stellar a lot here this afternoon. And one of the best face-off guys, Conti, over the last 4 seasons. This season, the Delaware commit. And the junior Marino has met him step for step and stride for stride here this afternoon, as we're already through our first 30 seconds here in our third overtime period on our 56th minute of lacrosse this afternoon. Here's Harrelsworth. He will dodge from the right alley, far hash, excuse me. He got his right hand free, and on the run, he skipped that one wide of the cage. Back up by Bosco and sophomore Dash Lane. They'll keep it right here for Dever. And now Scaletti will come to the near numbers to receive the pass. Matched up by Jack Gunaris, the senior. Here's Scaletti trying to muscle his way north of goal line extended. The slide came quickly. That was the double team. Here's Dash Lane. 15 yards from the cage, and he sails that one high and wide of the cage. Scaletti with the backup. And he will motion Jason Koo to initiate. Here's Koo. Arguably the fastest offensive player. He does much of the initiating from the top of the restraining box for Bosco. We're going to get a whistle. It's a timeout by head coach Matt Lane. And the Ironmen sideline comes with 2:45 left to play in our third overtime period. Both teams, again, with 1 timeout per overtime period. Bosco will burn that timeout and try to draw something up. I guess just to go back to half number 2, or overtime period number 2, a much better overtime, a much better period for Bosco than the first overtime period. Their offensive possession in that first overtime period held to a shot by James O'Hara from his own 35-yard line. But good looks there offensively in that second overtime. St. Augustine Prep as well. A couple good looks. Great saves on each end. Defenses tightening up. We are all even at the moment, 6-on-6. We have some what looks like youth lacrosse players waiting very patiently behind what is the St. Augustine goal that they're defending right now. So the goal to our left, the goal we'll be focusing on right here as we get back to action. As our 2 teams, our 2 head coaches, J.C. Valori on the sideline for number 5 St. Augustine Prep, Matt Lane down there for number 2 Don Bosco Prep, towering at 6'4". He was a stellar basketball player and a soccer goalie, a state champ soccer goalie. He was also a state champion in lacrosse at Montclair Kimberly. I threw the notes away already. I believe he graduated in 2013. Again, won 2 soccer state titles, a lacrosse state championship in 2012. It was his junior year. Again, I believe I tossed those notes into the garbage already. Figured we're in overtime. Notes aren't really going to help me here. It's going to be Heston Halesworth, the sophomore, to start with it. From outside the near numbers, it's Dever from the point. To Kushner along the far numbers. Swung back for Koo and for the sophomore Halesworth. He'll start with it. Split dodge to his left. Koo. And now Brady Kushner working east-west, sticking his left hand. Gets to the top of the restraining box, works it through Halesworth. Halesworth will now recollect a swim move at the near hash for Lane. Lane got great angle there, zings one off the far upper 90. Want to say that hit the post and binged right back towards Lane. He's the closest one to it. He'll reinitiate. Here's Koo. Spin dodge to his left, puts the stick back in his right hand. Dodge down the alley to his right for Dever at the point.
Devereaux will put a swim move on his defender. Right-handed shot saved by Helfenstein. And a quick outlet pass finds Gabe Byer, the junior, across midfield, and a touch into the restraining box. And at $1:40 left in our third overtime period, the Hermits and head coach J.C. Valoria timeout down on the St. Augustine Prep sideline. Excuse me, my one and only slip up there on St. Augustine from Augustine, or Augustine actually, I believe. Head coach Valoria mentioned to me before we got going. Again, minute 40 left in overtime period number 3, all tied at 7. And now St. Augustine a chance to draw something up offensively and try to take advantage of this. No, what you're taking advantage of. Try to get one past this stingy and sturdy Bosco defense. It's been a phenomenal last now 11 minutes of overtime, or 10 minutes going on 11 minutes of overtime lacrosse. A beautiful day. We had some showers on the way here. Quick little patch of rain moved through, but it has been sunny and perfect since about 11. We were originally supposed to get started at 11 o'clock. Ended up getting pushed back to 11:30 with a lightning detect in our opening stages. Obviously, got to give both our two teams some time to get ready. So a lightning detection at 10:15, 10:20. Going to back up the start of the game. It's been a great one. Hendricks, 6 in white. The sophomore will initiate from the far sideline, right in front of the Don Bosco bench. Hendricks matched up with 26 in black Murphy. Hendricks down the left alley. Along the far hash, will play it for Thurber, 15 in white. And then swung back to our near sideline for Diamond and behind for Rauchi. Both of these two teams just spin the ball around the perimeter so well. It's like watching a college lacrosse game. As trying to muscle his way in is Ryan Diamond, and he tattoos the far high corner, stick side high of James O'Hara. The Bosco defense left dumbfounded as St. Augustine Prep walks this one off with $1:09 left in overtime, our third overtime period, and a 7 win for St. Augustine Prep. And the Hermits, as our officials come to midfield, a quick meeting, and that's all. Here from Don Bosco Prep, what a finish to a fantastic game. As it's the Hermits, number 5 in New Jersey, handing Don Bosco Prep, the Ironmen, their first loss this season and over the last 2 seasons in New Jersey play. What a game and what a finish. As Ryan Diamond, his 13th goal of 2025, ends it here from Granitel Stadium. Again, an 8-7 finish in this non-public lacrosse melee between these two teams. A collision between two of the top teams in the state, all the way down to the wire. And it took almost, again, quick math, it took like 56, 57 minutes to decide a winner. What a contest, as that's going to do it here from Granitel Stadium, live on SSP Video Highlights. St. Augustine Prep, the Hermits, advance to 14-2 as the Ironmen of Don Bosco Prep fall to 12-5. What happens now with Monday's NJ.com Top 20 rankings, we'll have to wait and see. As the Hermits, an 8-7-3 triple overtime win over Don Bosco Prep here from Granitel Stadium. That'll do it. My name, Ryan Holzbus, joined by Anthony Bertolo, operating the camera, our production extraordinaire here this afternoon. We bid you farewell. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon, and we'll see you on the next broadcast. Again, hoping for next Friday, the 23rd, at home right here versus Gill St. Bernard's. Have a great rest of your Saturday. We'll talk to you on the next one live right here on SSP Video Highlights.
Yeah, I know. That was a
Holy
great game.
shit, dude. Get my audio off. That was insane. Oh, man.